project, we're going to be using basswood that is about 3 millimeters thick. And because we're cutting and we don't have a riser, we're going to be wanting to use our triangular prisms to elevate the wood off of the base of the machine for the cut process. So we're going to go ahead and open the machine up and place our triangular prisms in here enough to elevate it off of the base of the machine. And then we'll add our material right on top of that. Close the lid. Over in the xTool Creative Space software, the first thing we're going to do is get a visual of what that material looks like on our canvas so that we know where to put our images. So we're going to click on the refresh button in the upper right corner. And now we have a visual of what that material looks like in our machine, and we'll know where to place our images. The other thing we're going to do is under material, for user-defined material, we're going to change that to 3M basswood plywood. It then defaults and gives us the thickness of that material. And because we're doing cut, we want to change the height raised to triangular prism. Now we're ready to load in our images. So on the left under image, click that. Find the images that you want to work with and then click on open. And here, this message is, the image is too large to display on the canvas. Do you want to scale it? I do want to scale it, but I want to show you what it looks like if I don't. So I'm going to click on no, display it in the original size. And you can see it's way bigger than I need for my canvas. So I'm going to undo that, go back under image, select it again, and click open, and then use the scale to fit on canvas. So it's a little smaller and fits more on my canvas. Now this is the design I downloaded from designbundles.net. And the author of the file has basically told you here that the black area is what's going to be cut. And that the information here in red basically tells you that they're providing you with a cut file, and that you, if you want to do any personalizations, that's on you to create the names and make them work with the design. So I'm going to go ahead and delete both of those items. I understand what they're saying. And then raise this up on my canvas. I only need 6 of these cut, so I'm going to delete the ones that I don't want by simply clicking on them and click the delete key. And I'll pick 6 that I like and just delete the ones that I don't want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go ahead and get rid of this one. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so now that we have our images on our canvas that we're going to cut, you can see if you click on one in the ribbon across the top, it gives you the height and width, and you can adjust those accordingly. The little lock between the two of them allows you to adjust the width separate from the height, but if you leave it locked, it will maintain the aspect ratio. So I'm going to click on height, and I'm going to change that to 3. So it's 3 inches wide, and then it defaults the width based on the lock and the aspect ratio. So I'm going to do that to all of them. Change the height to 3. All right, so I'm going to maximize the space on my canvas. I'm going to move these around by just clicking on them and dragging them. And see if I can get 4 of them on a row, put the other 2 below. All right. So now if I click on one of them, in the right, a menu came up and it says that it's on a score. And I don't want it to score and just mark the wood. I actually want it to cut. So I'm going to change that to cut. And when I do that, I want to click on the settings and reference, and I am using xTool selected reference. So it's automatically giving me the power and the speed that it needs for the type of material I have in the machine. So I want to change each one of those to cut. So click on one, and in the menu on the right, just click on cut. All right, so now my ornaments are set to be cut, and they're all 3 inches high. The next thing I want to do is add names to each one of them. So on the menu on the left, I'm going to click on text. And then in the text box that pops up, I'm going to change that to fresh. And I'm going to change the typeface to something that will work better for me here. Let's change it to felt marker. And then I'm going to change the processing type from score, which is the default, to engrave. And then I can move that over and size it down to fit between that vacant space between the top and the bottom of the image. And if you need to, you can use your arrows on the keyboard of your computer to move them down just a little bit to fit. I think I'm going to shrink that down just a little bit more. To look like that. I can then click and drag to highlight both the ornament as well as the text. And under Align, I can line horizontal and go back and align vertical. Now that didn't work from the vertical standpoint, so we're just going to align these horizontal. I'm then going to take and right-click on Fresh and say Copy, and right-click anywhere on the canvas and say Paste. And I'm going to change that name to Felicia. And then drag that up to my next ornament. I'll select both just to make sure that they're aligned horizontally. Perfect. Right-click on Felicia, say Copy. Right-click again anywhere on the canvas and say Paste. Then I'll change that name to Victoria. Drag that up, select both, align, horizontal, and then I will use my arrows to kind of drag that down just a little bit to make it fit perfectly in that space. All right, then I'll right-click on Victoria, say Copy, right-click on the canvas and say Paste, and change that name to Eddie. Using my arrows on my keyboard to move that down just a little bit. Select both and go under Align Horizontal. All right, so now each one of my ornaments, you can see if I click on one, is marked to cut, but the name, when I click on that, is marked to engrave. And that is the same for all of them. So we are ready to check our framing to make sure that we have the space we need on our material in the machine for the images that we've got designed in our software. So in the software, we're going to click on framing. And then it's telling us to press the blue button on the front of our machine. So we'll go in and go ahead and do that. And you can see the lights up the area that is going to be used for our design, so we know it's lined up perfectly. And back in the software, we're going to say framing complete. And at the bottom on the right, we're going to go ahead and click on process and then start.